The TKA work closely with the development, feedback that the commission provided and provided significant additional information. I believe everything required and everything is requested. We submitted the environmental assessment statement and the political process. The community overlay, the zoning application, the preliminary community development plan, and then the updated, design guidelines, development agreement, the draft declaration of restrictions, the responsibility document. And he also did several updates of the architecture, floor plans, one of the main things on the elevations here. This is an important point that we want to stress tonight. We added stone to all the units. So we proposed a culvert stone to all that. Again, the goal here, we want to build nice units in the city, and I want to remind everyone here, we want to invest. Pretty good. All the yeah, but you know, that's really important. Yeah. The items on the thank you. We have the old building, the old church. You know, that site, as we all know, has got a complicated history. I mean, we wanted to provide some vision there, you know, development. That
I will say that we did. No. we get something that's part of the area, well, and I don't think that is something that Here you say it's not possible. He has a driveway. Really?
Yeah. Driveway.
What we did look at. Alright.
The line.
We did look at that. It's submitted that content plan for review. You know, the units were designed just like the offer inside, it will save the road. You know, it's not, I mean, you see it in a while. That's why.
Do an engineer.
So you can take the company. Using the driveway. in the back of the court, you know?
Yeah, I guess.
Back door entrance. In the back. Single story. In the front door. Side. Face.
Well, it is not.
Doesn't it primary? And from Ralph Johnson, the this is a resident and now in my vision capacity. People are concerned about the company to develop content with the reader space and industry. I know this has been brought up before, but the developers saying that it is not possible to reverse that and simply not to simple Google search will pull up plans from any number of variations in which the face the streets and directions. And it can't be clean, but one very nice plan comparable to their. I could send many more. Say it's not possible, it's simply not. In our own code, we require these medical studies, offenses, they solve them. Why would we want anything less than that? Offenses somehow more aesthetically important than homes. Yes, there are some kind of communities where that's being street. It is what we want on our main street when the alternatives is possible. If it was truly impossible, that would be not, but it really isn't impossible. The punishment resistance and other options beyond the poorly thought out, driveways, lower than the street is that. They have never addressed what other options they consider and why they. I think they should explain. The public commission of which the punishment would address it and created a development that would be exciting with American users and not settled with the claims to the campus. Thank you, and best regards, Ralph Johnson, 5818.
Yeah. I know how you feel about repeating topics, and so I can bless that was one of my points. Two concerns about the documents I had to review in advance of tonight's meeting that I'd like to comment on and hope that the commission may address before sending things on. One is, of course, the development agreement regarding the architectural standards. That was a hot topic for residents to express a desire on multiple occasions for tastefully designed frontage that reflects our identity as a lakefront, beach, or nautical community, and to be requested in any future construction along our business corridor. This concept is really important to us when it comes to a lot that faces the lakefront and a large open public area such as Center Beach Park, which remains a prominent recreational feature cited on a busy intersection in our immediate. So page 4, item H, that submitted development agreement where everybody is, states that, the building describes the intricate gabling and all of that, but that's all on the lot facing side, not the street, but public facing side. There's much plainer architecture on the street side, and therefore a plan to depend on landscaping, earth mounting, and trees to hide that from the public streets and sidewalks. I actually feel that this entire development could contribute to our vision for a lakefront themed community by using the architectural detail of the street facing side as part of the city's decor, as it were, and provide curb appeal. I mean, it would be ideal if the buildings could be designed, as we're saying, that front walk and entry are on the street side, and coastal style details. For example, that shaped like shingle or architectural accent windows that you see on the public library, just across from where this is going to be catapulted. At the same time, you maintain vehicle access, garage door, the driveway on the rear side, the parking lot side of the building. And this way you don't need earth mounting and heavy trees along the street. There wouldn't be a necessary need for any shield. The development, the buildings themselves would stand out. Their street faces, a pleasing development to look at by all who cross the public roadway. I think that this would be a nice way to integrate the project into our community and promote our vision of the future at the same time. It would appeal to those outside the city when they come to Mentor-on-the-Lake and see that we actually appear like our community, the place that it is. I really feel this project takes up too much street space not to use it to help further our community vision, and when this can really be accomplished by design. So I urge the commission to consider this opportunity to request architectural modification from the developer for the best benefit and pride of all residents and our public persona for welcoming this project first. That's number 1. Number 2 is about the declaration covenants, conditions, and restrictions. That's the big document, page 24, regarding lease allowances. This will affect leasing as it affects these units under the proposed HOA. And the very first sentence does state the intent of the document is to provide for an owner-occupied community and not allow leasing solely for investment purposes. This also was a very important aspect of the development for the residents who voiced their opinions during early stages of PUD creation. Or the subsequent language in this section does. First paragraph does allow for a hardship exception to lease. That's perfect.
And both your girls on your side.
However, the ability to renew the hardship condition annually, as stated in the language, should have an expressly stated limit. Either a term limit or a limit as to how many times a 1-year lease renewal can be granted by the HOA board for documented hardship. This would discourage perpetual hardship situations from becoming a pathway to permanent leasing. But the third paragraph is the one that most directly contradicts the opening statement of wanting to provide for an owner-occupied community. It expressly allows first mortgagees to lease their unit without any hardship condition, while subsequent purchasers are restricted to hardship conditions in order to lease. Considering that all purchasers in this development are first-time buyers to start off with, the declaration simply provides the equivalent of no restriction to leasing. And would seem to attract those who wish to buy solely for investment purposes, even though we don't want that, because it's really not expressly forbidden anywhere else in the document. I grant that we may need to expect and accept that some leasing will eventually take place. But we can still aim to limit it rather than ban it outright. It's known that a higher concentration of leased properties lowers property value, increases insurance premiums for those who do own, and affects the community with more frequent turnover. I think reasonable additional restrictions to consider for inclusion into this declaration regarding the subject of leasing might be delete this distinction language between first time and subsequent buyers, leaving all owners subject to uniform leasing restrictions. Second, include a term of ownership that requires owners to reside at the property for a set period of time before being allowed to lease. This could discourage those institutional investors. And finally, include a rental cap that limits the total number or percentage of condos that are units that are rented at any given time, maybe 10%, 20%. And this could ease buyers' concern that they may eventually end up surrounded by rental properties when that was not exactly what they were thinking to get into. So I urge the commission to consider requesting language change for the HOA regarding more common sense leasing restrictions to protect the future condo owners inside the development, as well as to address concerns of the current residents of Meadow on the Lake about adding more rental properties to our community. I appreciate the opportunity to communicate these points. Look forward to a way we can incorporate development into our city and in a way that generates and maintains pride in our community. Thank you.
Mr. Cleveland.
It's not really understanding that it's gonna happen $100,000, and it appears like it's probably gonna happen. And I think in this case, some compromise is probably appropriate. I'm a capitalist, but I.
You know what? I think that they are taping these people from behind.
And they're looking at your backs. Am I supposed to be there?
Hmm.
Go, Mr. Paul.
Yeah.
Wait 1 second. If you're online and not muted, please stay muted. We can hear everything going on inside your home.
I can't hear you. I can't hear the meeting if you mute me.
You need to turn up your volume.
I have it full. And I'm getting tired of this. You first didn't give directions how to do the Zoom call, and now you're telling me to mute myself. Now you get your website together and give better directions so I can hear these meetings.
No, there should not be a need for a separate agent with open-ended authority. An HOA board can always vote to contract with an outside management company. The current language is too broad and vague. Section 9.1.21. 9.1.21, renting or leasing. As already mentioned, this language continues to be vague, and it seems the current language leaves the loophole to allow the developer to retain units to rent or lease. If the developer continues to seek the CRA incentive, rental of any unit by the developer should disqualify it from any access to a CRA benefit. Ideally, this language gives further clarification as it relates to rentals by the developer. That's it. Would you like a copy or you've got what you need? I'll take one. Sure. Sorry, thank you. Just one, nobody wants to be anywhere?
Thank you, Susanna.
Okay, thank you.
Is this a two-page email that you got?
No, this is just what I read.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is actually the summary of what you.
Okay.
She might be able to.
Task force, Terry.
Text Terry 7373 Salida. Most of my topics were already discussed very eloquently. I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Shaboo, for emailing last week. It was very helpful in getting some of this information out to me and answering questions. I really appreciate that. There was a lot of information and I did not get to, I believe it was the environmental study, and I know that was very important to you. I didn't look at it, so I would just trust that you would go through that as thoroughly as you would all the other documents, and it would just, because I think it's something of this size would be very impactful. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mia? Yes. Yes. Thank you. Schmidt, Chris Schmidt. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's not even the nice name. Nita? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Anna Ford?
Yes, because I have another question on something else.
Oh. And also then Diane? Okay, great. Thank you. Hi, thank you, everyone. Appreciate the comments and really thoughtful consideration. We'll now turn to commission discussion, questions, and ultimately vote.
Can Rick say a few things about that before we?
I would like to answer the thoughtful, but everyone best.
And you are,
Rebecca Summers.
okay, for some, sorry about that, yes,
I
I'm
would
sorry.
like to answer some of the questions were brought up and discussed.
Okay,
Is that reasonable?
sure.
Okay, give me 1 minute break.
I'll tell you what, we're gonna go on when you're ready. You can join us. So, what I'd like to do then is just start with, actually, we'll start with I'm gonna skip over the landscape plan. Oh, you ready?
Yes, sorry, I just want to get some straight here. Couple of discussion points and answer some of the people that took the time to come out tonight. First of all, Ms. Wong, this leasing question, we worked very closely with the law director and the administration on some of these questions and the document plan and everything. In leasing, first of all, our intention, we are not keeping any units. We don't keep single units. So our intention here is not to keep any units to rent. The one problem you have is if we sell a unit to a resident, and they become a resident, we won't sell any units for investment purposes to occupy. But in Ohio and in this country, you cannot limit someone's ability to lease a unit after they buy it. It's against the law and we can't do it. Now, we can vet who comes in through the HOA association, which once we sell the last unit gets turned over to the homeowners. I think some of the misconceptions that were, I believe it was Ms. Lennon read from that, the HOA will be turned over by law, it can be at 75%. We typically stay involved to 100%. And work with Mr. Lyons until, for instance, the stormwater retention areas are completed and accepted by the city and the county. At that time, we turn it over and our responsibility ends. Same thing with sewers and water. In this case, it'll probably be public sewers and it's aqua, so we don't have any long-term maintenance, nor do the homeowners. So those are a couple of things. Tax abatement discussed by a number of people. We're actually in discussion with the city and the administration right now. I don't think tax abatement is something that's going to be decided tonight, and I don't think it's a decision that is made by this board, if I'm not mistaken, what Mr. Lyons said. But one of the ideas we have for tax abatement, we're not going to ask for 15-year 100% abatement. But we are developing a plan that we would like to bring to council after this site, the preliminary plans approved. And part of that plan is to make the city of Mentor on the Lake whole. So typically right now, the city gets 24% of every tax dollar that's collected. We have a plan that will make the city whole, and they will not forfeit a penny that they had coming from the real estate taxes that would be assessed on this project. I think that's very important. In today's market with the high construction costs, probably costs going higher based on things we're hearing tonight and the desired architecture, tax abatement is absolutely critical to this project, between 8.5% interest rates and rising construction costs. But again, I don't think that's the day for tonight. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, is decided by council, correct? Correct. So I think that I want people to know that we are addressing it. There are concerns within the administration and council people about 100% abatement. We're not going to ask for it. We are going to ask for some form of abatement with 100% payment to the city for their portion. So just so people here know that. A couple other clarifications. These are fee simple lots. Each homeowner owns the land that their home sits on. Then there are limited common areas, which are where their deck would be for their driveway. And then there are true common areas where the retention basin is. And those are all spelled out in a flat. And I didn't quite understand what the misunderstanding was there, but it's definitely fee simple with 30 individual homeowner lots on this flat. Maintenance is very
So
good.
I believe that Summer, just ask that question. I think it was reference, I don't know. But given this, the site information, that is a lot.
This is correct. So basically, anything within the building envelope is owned fee simple, no different than any single family house in the city of Monroe, owned by the buyer of that property. HOA is responsible for long-term maintenance of the private driveways and the streets, the retention basin, and any common area landscaping. A couple other questions came up. Environmental study. We've had what's called a phase 1 done on this property, which is basically a study of the overall site. We then had since it was a gas station, we had a phase 2 done. I was also given a report tonight. The gas tanks have been removed. They were removed in 1982 under supervision of the fire department. We also make sure that
So
they got.
Mr. Summers, I'm wondering if I'd like to slow down a little bit, if that's okay, and we'll go through some of these step by step.
Okay.
Just because I do want to have a few comments on that. So let's go ahead and actually start with a review of the environmental assessment. That's here. And I think where I'd really like to start with that, you know, we did talk about the natural materials. Gone ahead and taken a look at them, and I wonder, Mr. Landon, if you could introduce yourself and then any comments you might have on what you saw as the phase 1 environmental assessment.
Sure, Tim Lyman, city engineer. Couple of comments generally associated with the environmental assessment. Utilities have capacity. Some of these real city utility, the stormwater, and it's a big one, because if not done properly, it causes problems for neighborhood. But in this case, they've done everything they can to handle it properly, meet city code, which more or less says they can't increase the discharge of stormwater, keep rates from the property. So that will be the goal. I had commented on prior use of the gas station, and I figured they're taken care of, but I just did not have the information, so. City required the documentation. Part of this study was the traffic generation. So the summary is that full development will generate about 180 cars per day. And in a peak hour, that amounts to about 14 cars in peak hour. So, and that, you know, discharge Park Street and then Lakeshore. That was the extent of that. We had previously, there have been discussions on the site plan over a period of time, so that it evolved, and I have no comments on it. You'll probably have.
Any commission members who have any questions on the environmental assessment? Either John or.
So then, here's improving retention pond, is that just slow the water down to help collect the water and people flooding? I mean, is that the reason for the retention pond?
Correct. Correct, is right. Your
I
tank
just
water
want to
for
make sure everybody knows.
discharges slowly over a period of time, so that the peaks are not.
I see some people thinking all the woods down on. Retention pond will help reduce that.
So I did, so there was one kind of question in there, which was about the underground storage certificate by statute, and your response, I think, was what you have received.
1982, the tanks were removed. Under the supervision of the fire department, we were able to obtain a copy of that inspector's report. Secondly, we did have a phase 2 done, which is standard on typically any property that's had a gas station. In that phase 2, they came out and did some test drills. They did what's called ground penetrating radar, and that comes out and typically can tell if there's any tanks left on the site. That was all negative.
And you were received on that paperwork and the rest of that.
Yes, right.
Right.
Have we submitted that? No, we will
I think
submit
you
it.
got it.
Yeah, we will submit it.
Right, okay. All right, I want to go to kind of the next item, I'm actually just gonna follow it. And we'll invite your comment. There it is. All right, stormwater, management calculations report, I think we covered that. Okay. I'm gonna skip over the PUD overlay. Okay, design guidelines. Look at those. Done. There's the homeowner association design guideline. What we're talking about. Red line and word back. Good question, comments. We heard some comments from the public. So the red line, really the only difference is to show the major difference the last one. Is there any additional? These are considerations. These are really considerations. we're taking a look at. Anybody have anything also questions, comments, thoughts on the? You did some comment here. Okay. Go ahead and look at the development agreement. We do have the preliminary development plan. Read the right one. Okay. So I think the piece that we discussed the last time was the CRA tax abatement. The only inclusion within this preliminary plan at the moment is the CRA. Which shall be negotiated and approved by council. The summary is correct and provided by Mr. Lyons, that is outside of the review of this group. To look at that, you're for that over to our council vote. Without any questions there.
The tax abatement should not be included, because at this time, we are not providing any tax abatement for any multi-family. That's the way the current tax abatement community reinvestment reads. And multi-family includes our not all different townhouse. It's only for single family.
According to the current.
Correct, but it's on the book, for you, and we can spend some time with the line.
Okay, so then, in that case, at eight, development terms and conditions B. Then we will want to know that, that we ensure that complies with current law. Current flag. As we go to architectural standard. I'm trying to see if we could not find, I know there was something, I think it was in the PDD that does talk about front facing towards three. We don't have that in the architectural standard here. No, there's a particular point that we could recommend the council with that in part of the overall approval. I guess if I wrote that, I guess it's the final site plan and architectural rendering. So their architectural standards are in eight, number 8, H as in Henry. Let's go ahead. I think that we've for a bit of consensus, if I hear that we want to ensure that there is a front door or a front door facade at least. Driveways remain in the back as the site plan illustrate, that we look at architectural modification and front facade and right after that, that be inserted into. We then have to map that. If we can, like, usually, then one of the two development areas that we had, I think it's in the community. I didn't have to figure it out. Of the ordinance. It's actually in there.
You did.
You can find it, so you can cite it. Okay. Um. Any other, talk for a minute about any other architectural considerations we have. Would be there on the external pieces that you photographs. I will say I certainly appreciate, as has been discussed, the idea of nautical, I'm not sure what that means from a architectural rendering perspective. I will tell you, I think the past style is consider the front setting, I think the pieces. Yeah, mine, yeah. Any other questions or comments on that, but certainly I think some of the rendering, the colors, the muted colors, things like that, the line itself to that style. Anybody else have any thoughts? Comments?
I think we're looking for something different than what he's doing.
On the street side?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's what
I'm hoping that we can negotiate.
I guess my question or comment is around the overall style that's certainly shown on the front. I would agree, I think the backs that kind of looks like with limited diversity of
The colors are still pretty much the same from it. I thought we were looking for something a little different colors.
yeah, it's difficult, right? Because some of it is
True,
but
we
I
were
would
looking for
say,
something that wasn't about.
yeah,
Madam Chair, can I
yes.
have answer a few questions here? First of all, We don't want all white. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do all the same color. And I'm sorry that that one drawing there shows all the same color. But all those color palettes, everybody that comes in here has to buy would have the choice of those colors. So you're gonna have diversity in color. I think the other thing, Greg and I just talked for a minute before I came up. We're willing to look at changing the street sign. But I think what we'd like to come out of this meeting tonight is, if we're willing to do that, is the rest of the plan approvable. We just feel that we've been here a long time. It's been 2 years now, a year and a half, 2 years. And I think we were all in the learning code under PUD and we've been through a lot. We'd like to go out tonight. Either we come back or you make an approval of council that we do a change to elevations, but we really want to know. I think we've already agreed on density at the previous meeting that we did 30 units on the site. We'll look at maybe.
So, Mr. Summers, I'm trying to go through step by step so that we can articulate if we can approve it with conditions.
That would be great.
Consideration.
That's what we would like to accomplish.
And that's the piece I'm trying to get to be as clear as possible, so that what our request of council is, the consideration we put forward is clear to you and to the members of council about what we were looking at. So I'm with you. I think we need to call the questions one way or the other, which I tend to do. And we'll go that direction. But one of the options is recommending that council consider, right? We don't recommend that they approve or not approve, but we recommend that they consider with the following caveats that we would want to put in there.
I think that would be good for all of us and people that are here so we can.
Chris, can I make a comment? We're not against you producing a unit. We just want to negotiate. We want the front.
That's it. I can
We
say the
want
same
something
thing on it.
a little bit more aesthetic, you know?
Then that's the advice we now need to give the council. That's the point we're at.
And that's what.
That will be the job of council to take that final decision. So, okay, with that, what I'm hearing is the idea of the architecture or modification with front facing doors on the street, which will be drives in the back, really the style that we're looking for the main. Well enough. Go together, right, with that light flow, modification. Front on Andrews. Okay. I think we're continuing to hear that incorporation. Some architectural diversity. Well, through color and materials. I think we have options there, but that's another point there. Okay. Other questions, comments? I'm gonna go through our list.
Trying to understand. I would like to have Mr. Summers back to this group and show the things that we are suggesting before we sit down.
All right. My engagement is called.
Okay, thank you.
We also have additional declarations, governance restrictions, any additional questions or comments? And I'm gonna go through my list of comments from the public. Anything else in your review? I'm gonna ask the question in a similar way to Mr. Summers. if the frontage is rectified, are there other questions for consideration? I will say, I'd like to see additional clarity or, information from the law director regarding the question of rental. Appreciate your thought about a restriction of future owners. Go ahead and delegate that. That's another area, we're seeking a clarification of that language and put it in the law director. With that, I think, with the notice I took from the public comment, I think we have discussed the items that were on the. Okay, the next piece is to look at the PUD recommendation. Again, it is not up to us to vote on the PUD, or can we do that rezoning and pass along the request effectively? And if there's anything in here that you see as missing or otherwise questions about, it's the decision, and then there was another. So it would in fact say that we believe that this could be or should be considered.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Mr. Shaboo just mentioned, so this procedure clarification. So can we, is it better to request that we, table this and continue it to another planning and zoning hearing, or are you guys saying that you would rather vote to recommend with those conditions? I'm just asking, what, for clarification purposes, what's the better course of action there? I mean, we better off saying.
So
like
those
this.
are our two options, and I think we have I think that's the question in front of this group right now.
Okay.
So, thank you, sorry. So we have three options. We vote to table it. Ask to take them back again at our next meeting. We can in fact push this forward to council with the consideration that they not approve unless following conditions are met. They would include right now is the copies of the certification regarding the underground storage tanks. That the language currently within the city regarding tax abatement is incorporated into the development plan to make sure we're all on the same page. And then the third is the restriction of the rental language, that we want to be sure that it is to the fullest extent that the law would allow to have that restriction, and then it's clear to put from the law director. And then the fourth is compliance with the PUD requirement about fronting on Andrews and Oak Shore Boulevard. Oh, you just read me the citation. You know how citations are. Preference towards building front facing the street, so it's 1255.07. So with those four considerations, we can capture to the council so that it can go through the public hearing process.
That would be my recommendation, they the council on and off wants to hear.
So first, I'm gonna ask that we have a motion on the table that we can discuss. Make the recommendation
Recommendation, so Mr. Council,
with
with our
condition.
recommendation.
You know. So what I'm hearing is a recommendation to move forward with preliminary development plan. With the four conditions. Sorry. With the four conditions of the underground storage tank certification. Current regulations, regulatory or ordinance on tax abatement, clarify that section of the development plan. The restriction of rental language, to the extent possible, input from the law director about what the exact legal there. And then the fourth is the architectural modification, which is then be compliant with 1, 2, 5507.
Do we have to study?
If I have a second. Now we can have discussion. First is from.
Well, the reason, I mean, we've been going back and forth with this longer than I've been on this committee. So I think it's time that we put it back on council, we let them make their final decisions. We've done everything I think we can. We've read through this, we've gone over the put out 100 times. I think it's getting nuts, to be honest with you. We've asked for it to face it front, and then if they don't want to follow our recommendations, sometimes we turn them down.
I would like to see a lot of those 4 items cleared up before. One more reading would probably result.
So my opinion is, we represent a very small portion of the lakes, whereas city council represents the entirety of the city. By nature of their own election. We are not elected officials here, we are appointed, and we are appointed to follow the rules set in the ordinances. The rules set in the ordinances do say at a certain point, we must vote. To move it forward or not. I personally, somebody who believes in the electoral process and is raised in it, I think we give it to our elected representatives to take our best input along with the input of the remainder of their constituency. Any other thoughts before we call the question? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call the question then. Are we good? You need to restate it again? Okay. So again, this is the recommendation to council. I am gonna say to both on the preliminary development plan and the PDD rezoning application. That council consider. I'm ready.
Suzanne Cason,
Aye.
Brent Moore. Aye. Gary Leonard.
Aye.
Mike Sweeney. Aye. David Richard.
Aye.
Please, Jack.
Yeah. You will, both of the time.
Can I ask another question? I appreciate your time. We're gonna work together and hope to get this done. We couldn't really get a clear answer after. Assume that we work things out, council approves it. That's the preliminary and the rezoning and then the preliminary. Is the final just the construction drawings that are approved by the city? And does that come back to planning again, or is that a legislative?
I think it does. Yeah. There's a line at the end. Do you remember the whole process now? Because I know you and Jim
It does, it didn't get done, it's a real, the transition would be more or less very simple, just the council has recommendations that.
I think formally, all we can do at that point is take a look at and say, have all the boxes been checked? You know, and we say yes.
We're gonna make this commitment, we wanna move ahead and get some. And I think we're all a little frustrated with it, but it's been a good exercise, and I hope everybody gets somewhat what they want, it's give and take. And we appreciate your time.
And I would say, as Ms. Long said earlier tonight, it is a gateway, well, quite a gateway, but it's certainly a marquee for that.
No doubt. It's not gonna be a lot better.
Yes, yes. All right, and it's probably the person who would be closest to it, I don't know, pretty close. Okay, two blocks, yeah, I live across. Right there. All right. Next, we are on to the mayor's report.
I don't think I've told you yet, but the conversion to Burger King should happen early 2024. We had, I gave council a couple weeks ago, the renderings of the Round Lake location. The changes mostly will be remodeling the interior. They will be painting the outside. They will put on a new roof and HVAC system.
And who is
This is Chipotle's gonna go. And they'll have outdoor seating. They look to open, depending on the weather, probably spring or. Who's my report?
Mr. Kaboom?
Yes, council's working on a lot of things right now. We're working on the tree lawn, rental inspection, and the latest, because it's due May 1st, is the garbage collection contract. This is going to be fun because I think, I don't know, if that's the appropriate, proper term. But there's gonna be some challenges because now we have unlimited, and we're not saying no to unlimited, we're not saying yes, we don't know how much it's gonna cost. I'm concerned that the garbage collecting contract is gonna go up quite a bit. We've got the request out there for bids right now, so there's a lot of work left on it. But once we get all the numbers, hopefully some people give us some input.
And that's May is the.
May 1st is,
Current time.
yeah, it ends on March 3rd, or April 3rd. So, and we're currently working on chapter 893, but as I said, it was intended for a single family. So,
All right. Thank you. Our next meeting is scheduled for December 4th. We have, we have two. Well, there you go, then we will see everybody December 4th. Until then, have a very happy Thanksgiving, and in case you've forgotten, tomorrow is election day. And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and close the meeting. Nope, sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and close the meeting. And so if I can have a motion to adjourn. Second. Thank you. We'll do by acclamation, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed. And abstain. All right. Sorry.